Alrighty, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first ever episode of the Alex Cuesta Show. I am him, I am he. Now, I want to start off the show by saying, for those of you that were tuning in, thinking this was the Median, saw the new logo, didn't know what the hell was going on, I'm going to press play anyway. First off, thanks for pressing play. Second off, this isn't the Median. This is a rebrand. Why the hell didn't you listen to the pilot? That's the first question. I put that out there for a reason, people. But why didn't you listen to that? You needed to. It would explain to you that this is now a show of my mind, coming in, talking about whatever I want to talk about, bringing in some people maybe to talk with me, maybe not. And hopefully it's a good time. It's something we can have fun with, and definitely a little more no holds barred, a little more fun is the intention here, and to kind of get out a lot of politics, just to warn people, it's sticking with your political stuff with the Median, but I'll also talk sports. I'll talk pop culture. I'll talk a little bit of everything. So it's going to be fun. Before we get going, I want to encourage everybody to follow, like this. If you do like this, share it. Let everybody know. If you're listening to this on YouTube, click the follow button, share it. Any other service that you're listening to this, subscribe, follow, share, all the likes, all that. It's all good. It pumps us up. It helps us out, and it will get more people to come and listen to us. Follow us on any social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'm not going to go over it. Just search the Alex Cuesta Show. My name is Unique, Cuesta. That's how you spell the last name. You spell it with a Q, you're not going to find it. You don't deserve to find it. Anyway, with me today, somebody who I'm stuck with. If you listen to shows on the Opinions Podcast Network, you'll know him, Cuesta Dos. It's pretty defunct at this point, but it's my brother, David Cuesta. Hi, David.
Hi. Hello.
And it's back, and he's doing it again. So this is why people didn't listen to Cuesta Dos.
That's completely untrue.
But anyway, so what we're going to do again, going to talk about some things that are kind of different than what we would have done on the Median. I am through playing objective journalist and being better at being a journalist, and all the journalists today, they all kind of suck. I don't care what side you're on. They all suck. And no one's objective anymore. The most objective guy in any media is Joe Rogan, and he's getting shit on left and right for being objective. So I'm not going to really do that as much anymore. I'm going to talk about things. I'm going to have receipts for what I say for the most part. If something I say is my opinion and I'm opining and it's off the cuff, you're going to know that. I'm never going to present you something as fact or news or follow the science and then change the science and then tell you to follow that science and then change it again and then call myself a science guy. And if you disagree with me, you disagree with science. Yeah.
Not everyone has to do a Fauci impersonation. Everyone does it.
You do, because if
you really don't.
So I was thinking of this. Fauci is like a mix between Lord Sidious and like a troll, in like the way that the troll's voices are in Sidious. It's like a mix. Like when Sidious is like crying on the ground, he's like, "Don't let him kill me," to Anakin. That's exactly how I picture Fauci every single time he talks.
My thing is that no one likes that accent in general anyway. So why are we doing impersonations of it? Whether it's Fauci or anyone else that has that accent.
Because people do impersonations of most people that are famous. Obama got it. Bush got it. Trump got it. Everybody in politics kind of gets.
Yeah, but those accents are fun.
People. I mean, yeah, I guess, my favorite is Bush in Guantanamo Bay, where he's like, "You a fucking hypocriticizer? Shut up and smoke my weed." Like, that was the best Bush impersonation of all time. Anyway, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes. What I want to talk about is something that, if you're political, is going to interest you. If you're not, you might just want to turn this off. It is talking about the Build Back Better budget bonanza, banana fana fofana plan, because how many B's can you fit into one plan?
It's good alliteration.
I forgot Biden. Shit, I could have put Biden in there. It could have been so much better. Anyway, but it's not Biden's, because Build Back Better isn't even Biden's idea, but that's for another show. I digress. Anyway, we're going to talk about that. I'm going to do what most places won't do. I'm going to go try and do it quickly, line item, about what's in the bill. Now, I'm not going to say what's in the whole bill, because it's over 1,600 pages. Which, again, that might be another show where we need to say, fuck long bills. They never need to happen again. I feel like they do this, Dave. I feel like they put this in intentionally so that No one wants to read that. And they put out the bill. Half the time when they do that, they legally have to put out the wording of the bill. Who has time to go read 1,600 pages of legal jargon?
Time and the knowledge. Yeah.
I've read bills. They suck.
Yeah.
They suck. And I read like 100-page bills, and it took me like 3 days because they're stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's by design. And I think we're going to get the whole Pelosi thing. Oh, you gotta pass it before you know what's in there. And then I need to go drink my wine some more. Like, get out of here, Pelosi. But that's what we're going to do. Before we jump into the bill, I have to say, Google is absolute shit. So I was looking for details. I was looking for news articles to try and compare and contrast what people have and include as much information about the bill in here as I can. So I searched in, Build Back Better plan, details, $1.75 trillion plan, yada, yada. And it gives me a bunch of articles. Now I was trying to get something from the left, trying to get something from the middle, a little bit from the right, trying to get some of the reputable sources. So sorry, Breitbart, I wasn't going to you. I sure as shit wasn't going to HuffPost or anything like that because they suck. But I was trying to get some people that are decent. And if anyone ever suggests Deadspin or BuzzFeed News, I will shoot you. Those are not news outlets. They are glorified blogs and they both suck. Anyway. But I was Googling and I went down like 5 or 6 pages and there wasn't a single conservative, rightish leaning news source. They were going into local news sources like WKRTV News, like some nonsense. So you suck. I went to DuckDuckGo. They had some better stuff. But I did get Wall Street Journal had a big breakdown, which I guess that's right. I guess they're right leaning. They're not completely right leaning, but they're more centrist right. I got an article by The Hill, got an article by AP, and I also got an article by CBS. So I think I covered all my bases a little bit there on going a little right, a little left, a little centrist. We got a little bit of everything there. So we're going to kind of break this down. First of all, again, called the Build Back Better bill. Also, I've seen it referred to as the Social Spending and Climate Package bill.
I've never heard it like that.
Yeah, I read that. I think it was The Hill had it as that. I've seen 1.85 trillion. I've seen 1.75 trillion. It's going to fall somewhere in between there. But what you're going to find out here is none of that matters. It's gone from 6 trillion to 3.5, and now it's down to this. The number value.
But doesn't it cost zero?
Oh, yeah. Apparently it costs zero.
Is the one that costs zero? I can't remember if it's this one or.
No, this one costs zero. And there's the $1 trillion piggyback infrastructure bill that was passed by the Senate that the House members saying the progressives, we will not pass this bill until both bills are there. They need to ride together. But regardless, the price tag is shit because it's more about what programs are in there. And I need to point out, this was a budget bill. This was the exact, they're going to close down the government nonsense bill, which if you're a conservative, we need to primary McConnell and the other idiots that let this go if you're a conservative, because I'm going to let everyone in a little secret. Shutting down the government doesn't mean everybody goes home. They still go to work. There's just certain employees that don't go to work. And if you're a small government conservative, good. Make them start cutting redundant programs and redundant branches and redundant little things. They don't need to be there. But I digress. Again, maybe another podcast topic. But we're just going to jump in. So Wall Street Journal did a pretty cool breakdown of the spending. I'm going to talk about it real quick. They did a chart, and then we're going to go through kind of some details. I don't have details on everything. I don't know exactly what all the stuff means in there because some of it's word vomit, and I just put it in there because it's in the articles. It's important. And I think if you're left, right, center, green, commie, Marxist, crazy neo-Nazi, you should probably know what's going on here. So it starts off at the top, $555 billion in clean energy and climate investments. They have some more detail in there in the more articles. $400 billion in childcare and pre-K, $200 billion in child tax and earned income credits, $150 billion in home care, $90 billion in equity and other investments. That's the one everyone needs to look for. $40 billion in higher education and workforce, $35 billion in Medicare expansion, specifically in the hearing department. So, going to jump in right away. Childcare subsidies. They all talked about, all the places I read about talked about the child care subsidy. What they're doing is they wanted to expand the child care tax credit that was just received during the pandemic for all of existence. They settled on just having it as a 1-year extension and possibly making permanent for low income families. So there is a permanency value in there, but just not for everybody. In the low income groups, it's only ones that don't pay income tax. There's a large number of low income people in America that doesn't pay income tax, whether you agree with that or disagree with that. And on top of that, with the child care, they want to fund a full 7 years of child care. That's included in the $400 billion universal pre-K that they want to fund for 3 to 4 years. It limits the child care cost to 7% of income, but those that are getting it must adhere to work requirements to qualify. I found that part, David, to be the most interesting to me. There's a lot in there. They need to adhere to work requirements to qualify in order to get a lower childcare cost, which I'm okay with, actually. If you're going to include that, making a requirement that they need to at least be doing something for it in order to, they're not just sitting at home and trying to get a drop their kids off of childcare. If it is okay, if it is not racist, if it is not sexist, if it is not any sort of bigoted to require a work requirement there, where is the welfare reform with this exact requirement? You want to talk about a reform? That's a reform for me that I would say. I know it's a little off tangent. Where is that? That's something that if I'm a Republican looking at this bill, I'm going, I can agree to that part, but we're piggybacking right away on this other one. So that's where I go with that. Dave, any comments on the childcare stuff? I just broke down it all there.
I mean, not entirely too much. What you said would make sense if Republicans really wanted that, at least the ones right now. They don't. They don't. They don't even talk about anything like that. So, I mean, you see newer Republicans that are running that would actually give credence to that argument, probably talk about that. Republicans in right now don't even talk about anything like that. In fact, they don't even want to touch it because they just think, if we touch that at all, then we're not going to get any of the votes from any of the people that might affect. They just don't care. I mean, that's all politicians in Congress right now, but I digress. They don't want to touch a conversation they think might hurt them, even though it's conversations that should be had.
Yeah, that's another, it's definitely a conversation. We need to get people out there representing their constituency and not representing, their party per se. And that kind of brings me on a little tangent. There's a lot of mentions in all these articles about Senator Manchin, Joe Manchin, and Senator Kyrsten Sinema. Mm-hmm. And I don't agree with them on a lot. They vote party lines a lot of the times. But if you want to talk about people right now who are kind of standing their ground and knowing their constituency and knowing what their constituency would want and not want, those are probably the examples that you're going to see. And even the 30 progressive Democrats that are sitting in the House saying, we will not pass this. We will stand in your way unless, the infrastructure bill, unless we get this piggybacked on top of it. So we're seeing some more of that on the left right now, whether you agree with it or disagree with that. At least they're standing for something that they think their constituency or their caucus would want. So we're going to continue going down. Wall Street Journal just had in their tax breaks for families. They didn't get in there specific. I can assume it's going to be the families underneath the $400,000 mark. That's the mark that they seem to have settled on in the bill. So that's where I'm assuming that's going to go in there. They have $150 billion, we mentioned, in-home care for elderly and disabled. Now, if I seem a little jumbled with some of this, I went through the articles, I wrote down. So I might get to some of these stuff in more detail later for those listening. So if I'm a little jumbled, deal with it. $555 billion in tax credits to combat climate change. Now, this one is the Biden administration, Joe Biden's major calling card when Joe Biden can remember that he's president. He talks about it. Half the time he has no idea. And he's like, the climate, it's looking sunny today. But that's usually what goes on. So what's in there is $320 billion in a 10-year expanded tax credit for utility scale and residential renewable energy, transmission electric vehicles, and clean energy manufacturing. So what this is saying is if you decide to do renewable type of stuff in 10 years, you're going to get money. Utilities, residential renewables, things like that, car companies. And with this, I had to mention something that wasn't included. I'm going to look in my notes here, scroll down. Something that wasn't included that actually Joe Manchin blocked, if I can find it. I don't think I can find it. What am I doing here? Here we go. Joe Manchin blocked this. The Clean Electricity Performance Program. So I saw this in one article on The Hill, and it didn't mention it, didn't go into detail. CBS did. So what it would do is it would force utility companies to increase renewable energy supplies by 4% and fine them if they don't hit it. That is something that Joe Manchin blocked. And I think he blocked it because he's in Coal Town in West Virginia, and that would be something that he's already going. I think his move to independent might actually save him. If he goes independent and doesn't stay Democrat, he has a chance at winning then. But man, I think he's doing everything he can to stay, and this might doom him. This might be looking good to West Virginians, but I think West Virginians have seen enough of Joe Manchin, even though he's one of the people saving the Republic right now, hopefully a little bit, which is ridiculous. Another thing they're going to do is, so they say they want to cut more than a gigaton of greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, which is in the next 9 years. I don't know what the hell a gigaton is. They say greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, is that just your carbon? Are they talking about nitrogen? Are they talking about all these other emissions? So that's part of the climate that they want to do. They want to give Americans up to $12,500 incentive to buy electric cars, so burn a lot more coal, even though we're closing down coal plants. They want to give tax incentives to encourage Americans to install solar panels. Now, Dave, I've had mixed people tell me about solar panels. I've had people tell me they're garbage. And I've also had people that tell me that they worked for solar companies and they've installed them and they worked great. Now, my problem with solar panels, not necessarily for residentials, because I think they could power a house. If you get decent sun, if you get decent, even UV, it's a cloudy day. People are like, oh, how's it going to go in the cloudy? It works off of pulling UV, and you still get UV through clouds. So I digress on that. My issue is when they go out of date, number one. Number two, when they break, how much is this stuff going to cost? No one ever talks about the cost of repairing this type of shit. What? I can't even imagine to guess. Do you think that this is something that you or me can even afford to fix? Could you imagine, Dave, you rent a place right now in Virginia, right? Mm-hmm. Could you imagine if you had to be charged like a panel tax extra in your rental agreement? And then there has to be like an upgrade because we need to, this year we're going to have to raise your taxes, your panel rent rate, like $30 a month because we have to get new panels because they're upgraded. Like, how much would that suck?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the solar panels are an interesting thing, especially giving incentives to encourage people to install them. I mean, you're going to have to stop people from going door to door. But my biggest problem with this part of the bill is that if you really want to combat climate change or you really want to help the environment in some way,
you do Greta and you go blah, blah, blah. blah.
No. Why aren't you mentioning nuclear energy? That is the number one energy we could use that is not only cost efficient, that is not only very optimal for the things that we need to run and the comforts that people like in America, but it also produces the less emissions of any energy. So like, I don't understand why we're never speaking about nuclear. Well, maybe depending on the lens you're looking through, you could understand why. But
didn't you know technology hasn't gotten better since Russian Chernobyl or since, 5 Mile Island or whatever happened? Technology has not improved since then.
It's not even that, though. Apparently. It's not even that technology is not improved. It's just like, something bad happened in Chernobyl. Wow. How did something bad happen there? Oh, because they lied about things getting bad and then it blew up. What a surprise. When you put off a problem, it blows up. Like, and then just don't do it here. Like, we all have all of these safety regulations, even in a place I work at. It's a local place that we're dealing with pollution and water. We have all these regulations that if we don't follow, we know, I'm not going to say it, but we know it's going to hit the fan. So why
you could say shit will hit the fan? It's okay.
Well, I just didn't want to make the pun. But like, if we just have those regulations with nuclear energy, why aren't we trying that more? I'm not even saying to just disregard any type of energy. Do nuclear. Like, we should be moving towards that if we really wanted to do so much about climate change in the environment. But apparently, a lot of people, well, not going to say that. Apparently, the people writing these bills don't want to do that.
No, and Al Gore hasn't promoted it. So, if Gore didn't fly to a private jet to go somewhere, which right now is COP26, where 20 of the world leaders flew over, I don't even know where they went, somewhere in Europe, but they all took their private jets and entourages. And I think United States has like 20 people going. I think a few of them took different private jets. So they care so much about the climate that if there's any hippie environmentalists listening to this, can you figure out how much they just polluted the air going there and back in their private jets? Does my town of Poughkeepsie even compare in the year to what they just did? So I'm curious with that. No one's going to research that because they're fighting the good fight anyway. Last thing about solar panels, they're ugly as shit. If anyone can make solar panels that just look like shingles, we might be able to talk. Give me shingle panels. David, we'll become bazillionaires. Give me shingle panels. I just made the name for it and everything. If anybody fucking calls them shingle panels, I'm suing you. This is on recording. I said it first. It's October 29, 2021 at 8:54 p.m. God damn it. Anyway, continuing down on the bill. So there is a new surtax framework that will be 5% on adjusted gross income above $10 million for Americans, $10 million, and 3% adjusted gross income, $25 million. I think this is for companies, for corporations. And the Biden administration is claiming that this will raise $230 billion in revenue. So there's that. Coupling with that, there's a 15% minimum tax on profitable corporations that the Biden administration will claim will raise $450 billion in revenue. So right there, out of the whatever trillion they're doing, they already have some math there that's going to give them $680 billion, still falling short, but I guess a little less than half of their projecting can be covered right there. Higher taxes on U.S. companies' foreign income. That's another one that they say they can bring back. So they're all hedging their bet that all these higher taxes on the upper class and the companies are going to pay for this. They said a 1% surcharge on corporate stock buybacks. I don't know what the hell that means. Not gonna lie. Anyone that knows what that means, look it up. Leave it in a comment. Tell me what corporate stock buybacks are. I can't really opine on it because I don't know what the hell it is. And the White House claims it'll raise $2 trillion in revenue through the proposal. So essentially, it's going to cover itself. David, there's your zero. Even, it'll actually give us some money. So maybe they can, actually hit the deficit a little bit. I don't think they're going to do that. Anyway, they also call for a global minimum corporate tax. That scares the hell out of me, Dave. That is some Davos nonsense where they're trying that is one way they talk about how we're a global economy all the time. If you are Nike and you love your child slave labor over in China, or your Apple and you are another one that enjoys your slave labor from children and people working for pennies on the dollar over in other countries, you will now have to pay extra tax and it'll for your global investments and what you do there. And also, it just eliminates competition for multinational companies. There's a minimum corporate tax that they're going to do, and it's going to be equal across the board. That's one of the things that scares me the most about this bill, Dave, is anything in an American bill that is calling for a world reform, which we can do because we're still the most powerful country on the planet, in spite of what Biden has done so far. That scares the hell out of me, David. That is not something that I like at all.
So that is probably the second scariest thing to me.
Have we gotten to the first yet?
No, yeah. Well, no. It's the first is actually right after.
Okay.
On what you have here.
So you want me to continue? Or you want to comment?
Go ahead. Just continue. At least say the one that's scariest for me.
So the next one is it's money to increase the enforcement staff of the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS. Now, big news was made that they wanted to monitor bank accounts that had an expenditure of over $600 for the year, not in one time, it's for the year.
Okay.
For the year. And then they upped it to 10K, which still is for the year.
Yeah.
That's bad. I think they pulled it out though, Dave. I think that's not in this plan, but it still is not good that the IRS is getting pumped up.
I don't care if that's on the plan. They floated it. So the thing is that the global minimum corporate tax, I don't like it either. But people may argue, but that's only affecting like those that are really big and they need to pay their fair share or something like that. They'll argue that.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's that much credence to the argument, but depending on your worldview, you may. The money to increase the enforcement staff of the IRS is the biggest problem here. We're both floating the $600 and then backtracking the 10K and then bringing it out completely. Just floating that ahead is already a problem. But that, adding on to Yellen saying they might think of taxing unrealized capital gains, makes it a very big problem for just a normal person in America. Because remember that whole meme stock thing that happened, the meme stonks with GameStop and AMC and everything? That will not be able to happen anymore if they do that. And you have to wonder why they would float that across after something so big happened and that actually tanked the hedge fund. So yeah. That's what makes it the scariest to me.
That is definitely, it is scary there. And I have to say, with all my research, no one mentioned the $600,000, $10,000, whichever one is included. I don't think Biden, it's not in this works. And not included is also what Yellen said, but it's still a possibility to get in. I'm going to talk about the things not included towards the end here. But what is scary, Dave, is like you said, if those things aren't included, then why are we beefing up the IRS? What's the point? And the number that I saw floated was like $85 billion or something like 80. It was an insane amount of money to bump them up. Again, I didn't find that number. That's me talking about things I've heard. And if you're not going to do things with the IRS, why are we now pumping up not just the IRS, not the secretaries, the enforcement arm? The arm that can go out, and we've seen the IRS weaponized. We've seen it. They admitted to it. This isn't, for my lefties listening, my lefty friends listening, this is not me making a conspiracy theory. The IRS has come out and apologized to conservative not-for-profits for going after them for not-for-profit status. It has come out that has happened. They admit to being used and not giving non-for-profit status to certain companies and having to check in unnecessarily on certain things. So it was weaponized during the Obama era. This is now factual. There is documentation. They've come out and they've said it. So that is scary. We're going to continue from the scariness to more scariness. This whole bill's scary. Again, remember everybody, this is supposed to be a budget bill. This is supposed to be money that is needed to fund our government or it will stop working. Dave, have you heard a single damn thing that is already in our government that it needs to fund?
Yeah, not really, honestly.
All right, we're going to continue on. So it's going to provide $35 billion to broaden Medicare benefits to cover hearing, but it won't cover dental and vision benefits. Bernie Sanders was pushing for the second two. This on its face sounds great. It sounds good. And, you're thinking, let's take care of our elderly. Let's continue to make sure that they're going to be okay. 35 billion, a lot of elderly lose their hearing. I don't like the prospect of, if you're going to do the hearing, why not do the dental and vision? It's going to be expensive. And is 35 billion enough for hearing for our elderly? Like, I don't know. I don't know enough about, I'm not going to lie, the Medicare system, Dave, to talk about too much about that. I need to read up a little more and see. I've heard people saying, it's already a broken system. It doesn't work great. It's government run. It's a socialized program. Nothing socialist runs well. Nothing government runs well. So I'm not surprised that a Medicare system wouldn't run well. But on its face, I can't say I'm too opposed to helping out our elderly a little more, but I would need to look into it more and look into the system more. Mm-hmm. Moving on, it extends the ACA subsidies through 2025, down from the Democrat hopes of making them permanent. So ACA, Affordable Care Act, is still here. It's not going anywhere. Trump tried to eliminate some of it. It didn't happen. If you've noticed the language here on some of these things, Democrats wanting to make things completely permanent, but they have to push it back. Now, the secret in government that people don't know is all you need to do is get it in there. All you need to do is get in there now, and then it will eventually become permanent, because once 2024 comes, you're going to hear all the Democrats making a big stink about how this is necessary. Taking this away is going to kill this, going to kill that. Kick it down the can another 4 more years. Kick it down the can another 6 years. Let's give it 10. Boom, permanent. So this is as good as permanent if it gets it. Another thing that I found interesting here. So there's 12 states, I didn't get them, that have denied the Obamacare coverage. I'm assuming Texas is one of them, Florida. Like your states that you would think that wouldn't take on Obamacare. They didn't expand the Medicaid with Obamacare, and people without health care coverage will be eligible for the expanded subsidies through 2025. So this is the Obamacare subsidies that they're talking about, but they're now expanding it to these other states that didn't get it, to the people in these other states that didn't get it, they want it. Now, this is going to cause a legal battle, because I'm pretty sure those states are just going to say kick rocks anyway.
Yeah.
Because most of the time their state systems run just fine without Obamacare, because private is always better than public. So we will see there. Next item, $150 billion in investments for affordable housing. His goal is to create 1 million new affordable housing units. That's a nice way of saying more projects. And, anyone that's ever lived near projects, they're necessary for people that can't afford better housing. But at the same time, why is the goal to create more projects and not to get people to work better and get out of projects? Why is it a goal to create more houses so that people can go and be basically held down and essentially told that this is all you can achieve? Like, the project system is a necessary evil at the moment in the cityscape, but it's something we need to move away from. I hate the project system for that reason, but his goal is to create 1 million new affordable housing units and to help with rental and down payment assistance. Now, there was, again, $150 billion invested in that. That's a lot of money to invest in to do all that. So we'll see how much they'll be giving out, if there's any qualifications for that. It extends the earned income tax credit for 1 year. That's on top of with the child tax credit. They're kind of similar in with each other. It provides funding for historically Black colleges and universities and raises the maximum Pell Grant. Now, one thing that I don't want to bring up Trump and the Biden plan, but Trump did give the largest number to historical Black colleges in terms of funding. I didn't see the number in here from Biden, but I'm sure he's going to want to, no pun intended, trump that. So we shall see. I didn't see a number there, but the Pell Grant is raised by $550. And I don't know if that was a typo. CBS had it in there. I don't know if it's more than 550, but that's the number. And it expands access for dreamers, I guess essentially allowing them more access to universities. One thing that wasn't included in this is they did not get their 2 years of free community college yet. It's something that Biden wanted. It's something Bernie Sanders and the likes has been pushing. That was not included in this. Moving down the line, $100 billion to reduce immigration backlogs, expand legal representation, improve asylum and border processing system. I mean, please do something. Like, if you're like, please, they're not doing anything at the border right now. Biden was ordered by a judge to reinstate the Remain in Mexico policy. And again, he's trying to thwart it. The one policy that we have seen that has caused us to not have to deport more because they don't get to come here. No one has deported more illegal immigrants than Barack Obama. And he was the deporter in chief. That was his nickname. Donald Trump didn't come near him in his first 4 years. And the reason being is because he had the policy to remain in Mexico. And the Mexican government didn't like it because it forced them to take on these people. But at the same time, Mexico stopped letting people on your border to walk across to the United States. So right now, Mexico doesn't care. They're just letting anyone come in. There's a new caravan, I think, on its way of 2,000 people. And I saw some a hilarity on Twitter because I'm on Twitter for this show. It was for the median, so I follow both sides intentionally. And it's great. You see a lot of the people on the left going, oh, there must be an election coming up. They're talking about caravans again. And it's like, no, you idiots. Do you not see it? Do you not like there's an election coming up. So whether it's strategy on whose side, I don't know if it's strategy. I don't think Republicans are going, hey, let's get 2,000 more. Come on. Let's get the caravan going. We need to have something to talk about. And then let's let in 2,000 more of the Democrat voting base in the Southern Texas. Let's do that. I don't know. Maybe Rhino Republicans are doing that, but who knows? So please do something about the border, Joe Biden. You already don't give a shit about Afghanistan. At least care a little bit about the border. Kamala doesn't, and you made her the czar. Oh, another thing, Dave. Why do we accept that there are czars in the United States? The last time I heard of a czar was Tsar Nicholas, and he was the leader of Russia. Why? What is up with the Democrats?
It's just a nickname.
Yeah, but there's secretaries for that.
Oh, no, it's don't get me wrong. I think it's dumb to say it.
Why do they call them czars?
I mean, it helps Republicans as well because it's like, oh, look, it's a border czar. And it's like that. You're saying that to make them feel like bad about it because the czar shouldn't be used in any context of a good connotation in America.
Czars. For me, like czars were always like the Russian dictator of the time. Like it changed to president now because they want to sound nicer. Like they're still czars. So it's like, I don't know. That's a weird thing that they call them czars. That's just my regressives. Get new terminologies. All right. You liberal guys, get new terminologies, please. I won't call you liberal progressives. You're not that. So he did that. He needs to do something about the border. He's doing nothing. So in there, he includes saying no new taxes on anyone making less than $400,000. I guess you could say that if you're not going to actually put in the amount. But if you start ripping corporations and making them pay more, we already see it with inflation right now. The supply chain's terrible. If they don't have it, they raise money.
So you don't have to add a tax when you're already spending $20 more at the gas station.
And you have, apparently Chris Wallace, or not, who was it? I think Chris Wallace might have said, one of the greatest, press secretaries of all time, Jen Psaki, saying, it's irresponsible of companies to do that, to raise money. So what do you want to do? Go out of business? And I will say this, defending Jen Psaki, she is pretty good in the sense that she has to go up there and defend a guy that does absolutely nothing all the time and try and spin it. I don't think she's mad at anyone asking questions. I think she's mad at Biden going, Jesus, give me something, dude. Do something.
Well,
like she's like that meme of the guy poking it with the stick, like do something.
we don't know how much she's involved with the Biden team either. Let's be honest about that. We don't know how much she knows in the first place. I mean, she knows what she knows, obviously, but how much, we're not certain. And I mean, with some of the things she said, like, oh, the tragedy, the delayed treadmill and stuff like that, makes me seem like no. Maybe she is doing a good job in a certain way of being a little cruel, but she's not exactly doing a good job of providing information about this presidency. She really isn't.
The press secretary to me is the dumbest thing of all time. It really is. Unless there's something important, then they really shouldn't go out there. But it's like right now, it's their job to propagandize and carry water for whatever the administration is doing.
Basically,
that is their whole purpose. It is a Rommel-esque position where, what is Jen Psaki going to say half the time? If Biden does something, do we expect her to sit there and go out and when they ask her about Afghanistan, be like, you know what? Yeah, Biden fucked up, dude. Like he really, like he fucked that one up. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, we're going to make it better though. Or like, what do you want her to do? Like, of course she's going to be like, no, listen, we did a great job. We followed the generals. We were in the war room and we did what we needed to do. And we think we did a good. No one's going to admit that they did a terrible job. And she is the punching bag, the crash test dummy, the propagandist arm of in reality, any press secretary. Kayla McEnany was the same exact thing. She's going out there. Trump tweets like, oh, if I shot somebody in the middle of the road, no one would do anything. And then McEnany's out there like, are you fucking serious, dude? Like, did you just tweet that? And someone asks her and she's like, no, he was just joking. Like Jesus Christ, people. But no, we treat these things, we give these such big platforms, and it's like, is Jen Psaki good? Is Jen Psaki bad? I don't know. Is the administration any good? Like, how good can she be?
Yeah.
Like with this administration. So as much as I don't like a lot of things that come out of her mouth, I give her credit for going back out there. It can't, like, anyway. So another two things that are in it, and then we're going to go down to what's not included. Investments in mental health, community violence initiatives, Native communities, and supply chain resilience. Didn't go into details with any of that. Oh, not mental health, maternal health. Sorry. Didn't go into detail with this, essentially any of that. I didn't see anything specifically on any of the equity stuff. I can assume that some of that's clouded in there because some of the wording in there might have something to do with equity or something. I don't know, but I don't know. They didn't go into detail. Native community supply chain. We need to help the Native communities. Let's end this reservation stuff. They're in poverty in reservations. Like,
wait. Supply chain resilience. Does that mean? What does that mean? Does that mean you're gonna? Oh no, have factories in America? If you're producing things in the country, the supply chain doesn't get backed up that much, bud. Like if you just do that, that helps it. That's supply chain resilience right there.
Nah. Break labor laws and make people work 24/7. That's the answer. That's the answer. So yeah, there's a lot. There was no detail in there. I'm just mentioning it that it's in there. If anyone wants to look more into it and give us some information, leave a comment, tweet, do something like that. Give us some more information on that. And the last thing that I saw was included. This is back to healthcare. They're saying they want to lower healthcare premiums to $600 a month for those who purchase through the ACA and to provide coverage for 4 million uninsured Americans. We heard this one before, buddy. We heard this one before. Obama lied about it. And it didn't work out the way he wanted to. Are there more Americans insured under ACA? Probably. Is it good insurance? I can't say if I know. I know people have experienced COBRA and they say it sucks. COBRA is what we have here in New York. They said that they've experienced the process. It's super expensive. It's kind of shitty, hard to get through. So I don't know. And telling me you're going to lower a premium, shut up. Everyone says they're going to lower premium. You want to know how you lower premiums? You do genuine competition. That's how you lower premiums half the time. The government comes in and does $600. Yeah, I don't know. And then it's not going to be $600. Don't get sucked into that lie. I don't care if it's a liberal, if it's a Republican, if it's a conservative. Anyone that tells you they're going to do something like that, that is snake oil salesman material. That's nonsense. So don't believe in that. So quickly, things that aren't included. Democrats are pissed. There isn't the paid leave that they wanted. Reform on paid leave. They're really mad about that one. Government negotiating drug prices like Europe, kind of a socialist system where government argues with pharmaceuticals and about how much is going to pay, but it also determines how much you're going to get and how much you're going to have to pay. And it's a system that sounds very rosy, but everything that's socialistic and communistic sounds rosy. So I guess I don't like it. I don't like anything like that. So I don't know. But people, if anyone has anything that is better than that or can explain that a little more in detail, leave a comment, leave a tweet. Taxing billionaires on unrealized capital gains might still get in there. David mentioned that with Secretary Yellen talking about that. Now, let me tell everybody what that means. Because first you see tax on billionaires and everyone's like, yeah, fuck those people. No. So what it is that if a stock rises, now stocks do rising and falling, right, Dave? That is normally what stocks do. If a stock rises, the government can now look and say, oh, that's at a new peak. We're considering that income. We are going to tax you on that income. And then if the stock goes lower, they're not giving that money back. It's an illegal tax on perceived capital gains that might be realized and might not be realized. So, Dave, you had something to include in that?
I was just going to say, to make it even simpler, Ape has 1 banana. Ape goes up to 5 bananas. Ape then goes back down to like 3 bananas, but Ape gets taxed on the 5 bananas. That's generally what it is. Like you had it up to there, but you didn't sell. You didn't do anything.
Yep.
So, but you still could have made it, so you get taxed on it.
Yeah. The money wasn't touched. No one has that money in hand. Mm-hmm. It is saying, oh, well, This is what you prospectively could have. We're going to tax you on what you could have, not what you do have. So that essentially it's an illegal tax. That's what it is. So the rule that requires banks to report on account flows to the IRS, that is currently not in there, but they're beefing up security for a reason. So again, once they beef it up, the IRS doesn't have to give a shit. They could just create new lines and tax codes and stuff like that. They don't care. Changes to estate taxes. They want to make estate taxes higher. Gift taxes. They want to make gift taxes higher. So David, your car was $1. Your first car, right? You paid $1 to Christina.
Yes.
They wouldn't want to tax that. They wouldn't want to tax that. Right now, I think a gift tax, like anything under I think it's like $10,000 or something like that. There's a number where if it's below a certain number, 10,000 might be high. But if it's below a certain number, they're not taxing. Now they want to tax you down to everything. Higher corporate tax rates, that's not in there, even though they have a global minimum tax rate, which is even worse. We talked about the Clean Electricity Performance Program and the No Free Community College. So in a nutshell, that is what I have found from these 4 articles. I might be missing something. I know the full bill is out there, but again, I'm not reading 1,600 pages of bullshit. I tweeted at, who did I tweet at? So one of the representatives put out something stupid about it. And I said, you have staffers, put out a itemized bullet pointed summary of what is in this bill, a shorter summary of what is in this bill. Have your staffers do it for us. They won't do it. They won't do it. And I don't understand why conservatives won't do it. They need to do it, but even if they do, no one's going to listen. So it's a bill, Dave, I'm not a fan of, mostly because there's a lot of legislation in here, and they have to go to reconciliation and try and get past the filibuster because they can't get a 60-40 vote on it. I don't know, Dave. Do you think this passes? Yes or no?
I'm hoping not. And for anyone that's wondering why I'm hoping not, even though I might not know some of the things in the bill, is because like we talked about how big the bill is and how many things are put into the bill, even though it's supposed to be a budget bill. I'm tired of almost any of these bills coming out and being that long and having that much stuff in it when you're purposefully making it complex so people don't understand and so people cannot catch up with the things that are being done. And that's part of the problem with a lot of the things people want to do right now. Yeah. If you want to go and start a business, you have to know and find out about a ton of things. And then by the time you find out about those ton of things, you're going to have to find out about another ton of things. And you can get caught on anything. So you're never going to know the full veracity of any of these bills unless they're shortened and unless they're actually clean and concise and compact. And I'm tired of this. I'm tired of them playing with bills like this.
Yeah. And I can guarantee that, this is the first episode of the Alex Questa show. So who knows how many people are going to listen to this, but no one's doing what we're doing right now. I spent all day on my breaks at work, and I work in construction, so I can't do it while I'm at work. I'm not in an office job where I can do research. In my coffee break, my lunch break, I'm actually trying to read these articles and go through it. I'm doing the work to research to try and find as much as I can about this bill. It was a lot of work, Dave. It was a lot of work just to sit there and go through and what article is what? What article is this? What article is that? And I'm not saying that anyone is omitting anything on purpose. It's that even they're trying to figure out what's best to put in these.
Exactly.
And Wall Street Journal had the most comprehensive one.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not like, we're looking into like a business's practices. And it's like, wow, they're really being like complex about a lot of these things. Like I can't even understand what some of this business is doing with some of these things. And, it could be shady. Sometimes big business is doing things. That shouldn't be what a government is doing with their citizens, especially when you're putting out bills to supposedly help the government run. We should be able to know what you're doing. We should be able to understand it, at least for the most part. Obviously, there's things that you put out a bill on some kind of foreign affair that we might not know because we haven't been in the damn country or has to deal with. But when it comes to things domestically like this, there's no reason it should be one, that long, and two, that complex. it makes no sense for it to be that way unless you're actually trying to confuse everyone and make it so that no one human being can completely understand it.
Yeah. So overall, I think both mine and David's gripe is the length, the complexity, and the fact that it's not a budget bill. There are very few things in here not very few. There's healthcare. There's some things that are here that are already inside the government that they want to do. And that's fine. That's part of the budget. But a lot of these things here are legislation. A lot of the climate stuff is legislation. It needs to be done separately. And they know they can't pass it separately, probably even with the reconciliation. And that's the problem. So with that at the end, I hope everybody enjoyed this first episode. This is kind of a little more what you're going to get. Probably not this per se. I'm not going to be doing a lot of breakdowns. It's going to be me kind of deciding on a topic, us running with the topic, and hopefully
probably be more fun. Because this one wasn't as fun. Mundane. This one was a little heavy.
This was a little heavy and serious, but you know what, though? I think it's important because you could listen to the Daily on New York Times. You can listen to me and you like a little more conservative, even though one of my favorite guys I listen to right now is Tim Pool, who is still a left libertarian, but is just red-pilled because he can't stand what's going on the illiberal regressive side right now. The Democrat Party is not your John Kennedy, even Bill Clinton Democrat Party right now. They decided to take the Woodrow Wilson route and just say, fuck America. So it's such a weird place right now where we are. But I think it's important that even if you disagree with our opinions on what we said, you hear what's in this bill. That this is probably just touching the surface of what's in this bill, but I at least was able to get to a good amount of it. So again, everybody, thanks for listening. Hopefully the next episode won't be so heady. Hopefully it'll be me just yelling and ranting about a topic, because if anyone has ever listened to Cuesta Dos, I like to yell and rant about topics.
Yes.
So again, everybody, the Alex Cuesta Show, thank you so much for listening. Share this, follow it everywhere on social media. Everybody, have a good one all.